game 2 then, about to begin. Picks and bans underway, hopefully. Well, I doubt Armada will surrender this one, even if they get behind, considering this is a very important game for them, best of 3 after all. Sanguine, though, just need one of these last 2 games now to secure this set for the time being. Armada, with the first pick, first ban, they'll take away Chernobog.
And smart ban, if you ask me. Taking away the Chernobog is something that you can never really go wrong with, because I would anticipate it to be flexed into mid lane over watching it go straight into the duo role, but a Geb first ban might seem a little bit odd here, but I can respect it. Sanguine, probably, yunglad especially, someone who is a little bit more notorious for wanting to bring out the Geb solo, and we just saw what he was able to do with Kumbhakarna.
True, but I mean, still, technically a throwaway ban for Geb. I do like the Sanguine ban, though, of Circuit there, even though, like, Circuit can be prioritized sometimes. When Geb's not available, Geb is really good at dealing with Circuit, with those shields, just cleansing people out of the situation and make sure they don't die. But it has left Pele up as well, and Armada chose Athena over the Pele. Sanguine, meanwhile, though, are going to go double assassin, Pele Hun Batz, which then screams to me Pele solo lane.
Pele solo lane could be very deadly. Even with the Athena, I think that Armada has definitely found a new form of crowd control there with the taunt. Erlang also to double down with 2 taunts, because 2 is better than 1 most of the time. I still have some concerns, though, over this Humbatz pick. I think the Fear No Evil and the Pele sustain can pose some serious threats so far for Armada. I do want to see a little bit more early pressure from this squad. I think that early pressure is something that kind of got the better end of them from Sanguine last time around.
Yeah, this Erlang Shen, though, could be in the jungle as well, as we mentioned, or the solo lane to deal with that Pele. So, locked into, yet again, we'll see how this one plays out. Into the counter band, it's going to be the Agni, taken away first of all by Sanguine. So, looking down the roster, Sanguine, they're looking more than likely they're going to need a support left next up. Where do you want to see them really go with that?
They could run it back with the Ganesh. I think Mineral had some great silences. It prevented a lot of the aggressive moments from Copebby. I think that last one actually in the mid lane where Copebby tries to initiate off of the Mystic Rush, and then he's immediately met with a silence off of the Blinken, and it's just a disaster by the end of it all. And I think that's why we're seeing such a heavy emphasis towards these Guardian banaways. But Artio's still on the table, and that's going to be a great asset to help prevent a lot of the Erlang dash-ins forward. Same thing for Athena and even Jingwei's escape.
Yeah, I do like Artio for controlling things and making sure some people can't get in. The only problem is if you get behind as an Artio in the support role, it's very awkward because you're really there just to be frontlining. Kuzenbo and Janus, the last 2 picks from Armada, so they've added a little bit more global there with the Janus and the Athena in tow, and Kuzenbo potentially for the solo lane, which leaves up last pick for Sanguine will be the Ho Yi. Picks and bans, Taco. I'm a little bit concerned for Sanguine's front line here. It's very, very, well, lackluster.
Sanguine's front line is not the same as it was last match, where they had the double Guardian impact, and that was able to better assist them throughout some of those early game team fights. Kuzenbo can be a really strong deterrence factor from Sanguine looking for those early pushes over into the solo lane. I think that's what I'm going to take most note of, because Bra was struggling just a little bit from that early focus. So now with the Kuzen, I think that he will have a slightly better chance of survivability, and I am expecting this to be Kuzenbo solo. It's not entirely set just yet.
I think it's Kuz solo.
But
if I'm in this game as Armada now, I would like Kuz solo, because there's so much damage on Sanguine that late game I can just sit on the front line and just reflect it all back and deal damage myself.
I'd rather have a hybrid build on that Kuzen, I think, as opposed to the Athena. It might just be better suited for Armada here, but...
Okay then. Well, the casters are ready for game 2. Are Sanguine going to 2-0 Armada here? Let's find out.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Taco. Great job on the desk, as always. We move into game 2 between Sanguine and Armada. Finch and Totally here. Sanguine came out of the gates hot in game 1. A different look here, though, in game 2.
Oh my goodness, they're just firing at each other in the start of the duo lane. Not wanting to go proxy or go for any sort of red buff shenanigans. We called it that strategy wouldn't work yet again. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, you can't get fooled again.
Mineral might be trying to full SmiteVOD this time as he takes a little bit of poke from this Jing Wei. But I feel like definitely the highlight here is that this Pele has made it through. We haven't seen much of her over these couple of days of action, but she's going to be in the solo lane. And there's some discussion there about where she's strongest. but she certainly can do well in solo too.
I agree. I think that you're looking for boxing exchanges, and that's what she thrives out, utilizing that passive between 40% lifesteal, 20% ability lifesteal. Every 20 seconds once you dip under 50% health is scary to go against. It reminds me of the old Sun Wukong passive where when you dipped under 50% health, you would get that critical strike chance. So it would be annoying, to say the least, to fight into.
Mineral putting out so much damage in a Benny over here in the duo lane on this Jing way, but you're exactly right. That boxing potential in lane for yunglad is a problem. We might not even get to talk about it. Ricochet lands, but they don't have any more range, but they have successfully bullied back the Jingwei Athena.
I think Diesel needed to look for a ricochet off the wall instead of a straight-up shot to get that extra bonus damage. Yunglad using that lifesteal a little bit to his advantage, but those archers are dealing a little bit too much damage to his liking.
That's good damage from sops in the middle lane, too. You know, I'm a little bit surprised. You used to see Pele's, you know, rushing Glad Shield or Soul Leader or something like that, but Younglad's going right into that Warrior Tabi rush as soon as possible. Has to teleport. We'll be right back. And I think we're seeing why. Look at all that damage. Is Cope in trouble in middle lane? Yuji finds first blood on the Unbots again.
Not the way you want to start off the game if you're Cope, but a great way to start off for Yuji that's trying to get that team fighting. Hunpass online yet again. One of his go-to picks as of recent. That's going to allow, you know, the likes of Yunglad to penetrate the backline when Yuji is able to do so with that kind of a lead.
Definitely going to help him out. Unbots is one of those gods whose level 5 timing is so important. It really has fundamentally changed the character more than a lot of other gods. And him getting closer to that even sooner, having it before you have your ultimate or best way to compete is a huge deal. And Yuji, if he can capitalize on the spike that might now be presented to him, can definitely cause some problems for Armada.
Taunt onto Mineral, but he's not deterred. He has some of his own healing that he can apply onto himself during the regular Celtic form, and with the blue buff going to Bra, he's going to have to, you know, take an L under the tower. All these minions going to go under there. And that's something that he needs to do with the Guardian's Blessing, trying to make sure that the last hits don't go to him because he wants to evolve it to get that 48 gold per minute.
Both of our solo laners are now level 5, so you could see Watery Graves or Volcanic Lightning causing some problems. This Mineral continues his aggression. Has to be careful, though. Cope is on this side of the map. Mineral has now used his dash, has no mana available, even sprint expended to make sure they get out.
And this is why Artio tends to be played in that solo lane, because you could be a little more reckless using your abilities since you have the blue buff for the MP5 and the cooldown reduction as opposed to purple buff for the penetration aura. And if you're not going to go for MP5 and the likes of Heartwood Amulet to start it off, you got to be mindful about how aggressive you are. It's about picking your spots in the dueling.
Make sure you're not vulnerable, but now it's Yuji's turn for a gank attempt. He's out in front of sBennyQ. Good pings to show them where they were, and he has level 5 Fear No Evil, but didn't have the timing on where to use it, so he doesn't drop the actual totem. In fact, now he's in trouble as Sops cuts off his path. There's the Fear No Evil for the escape.
Defensive ultimate, not wanting to get taunted from Copebby, making sure that he was going to get out of dodge very safely there as Bra trading out with Yunglad yet again, this time favoring out Bra ever so slightly with the Shoes of Focus.
And remember, Yunglad has been proxying over here on this solo side, trying to strip away farms just like this. And this is where that solo lane pressure now can start to hurt Cope just a little bit.
Every 60 seconds that those are up and Yunglad gets them, it puts himself not only ahead of Bra, but allows Yuji to get that experience lead over Copebby. Since of that first blood, Cope hasn't been able to keep up in that experience per minute department. Drop kill from both junglers, I think, at the end of the day in that duel lane, kind of poking their head around the corner, seeing if the convenience store is open, and they're like, no, we closed like 2 minutes ago. Come back tomorrow morning.
Right, and like they're like not friendly even a little bit, not willing to open the door a little bit longer.
It's like, I just want to pack a gum, man.
Like, it's right there. Let me grab. No, it's done. And it's curious. So do you think it's a missed opportunity? I know Yuji maybe didn't have exactly the positioning he wanted for his ultimate. Beads were still up, yada, 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 and the airstrike. But at least force them out, or is he right to hold him in that spot? I
mean, with how close both Sibyl and sBennyQ were to the tower, even if they go for the kill, maybe they duck for shelter, and then they would have to look for a tower dive. I think this could be a little tricky. Holding it for a rainy day, I don't mind that play necessarily. The fact that he didn't commit. But baited out Janus ultimate at the end, so Sops trading out the ultimate for a defensive one out of Yuji.
the most part, though, things are still relatively even between our teams. Again, we saw a little bit of advantage to yunglad, but with Cope here, he might be in some trouble.
And the thing is, Yuji doesn't have to force these issues, whereas Cope definitely does. They can't allow yunglad the solo lane pressure to get ahead of Bra the same way he was able to do it in the Kumbhakarna that very first game.
Oh yeah, if an ahead Pele starts rotating over to some fights, then it really does feel like it's just over as Yuji's lurking on the duo side of the map. They have a ward there though, so they likely will know when that inbox comes through. But she is going to start working on that Soul Eater. Should have plenty of survivability to make her even harder to kill. But this is good damage from Bra.
Oh, Younglad's probably dead to rights here. He needs to get the lifesteal. It's so good.
It's so much healing. The pin does still land from Cope, and Younglad has no help through space and time. Just barely misses, and Bra pins Younglad against the wall and finds a kill.
They needed to use 2 ultimates to confirm that one. The through space and time that was about to cut off the escape route, then also the ultimate from Erlang Shen on Copebby. sBennyQ gonna have to receive that Defender of Olympus. Afraid that Yuji was gonna drop that ultimate. That's a game of, you know, bluffing right there. Yuji always patient on his Fear No Evil, not wanting to put himself in a bad position, because if he drops it there between, what, Tier 1 and Tier 2, if he doesn't find the kill, well, now he wastes an ultimate, he wastes his farming time, and guess what? Jing Wei's passive gets her back without missing any farm at the end of the day either.
Yeah, so sBennyQ should be right back. That is 3 ultimates they had to expend essentially across the map, with only getting that kill onto Younglad, if you count Cope, Sops, and the Defender of Olympus there from Sibyl. But with nothing really happening, they should be okay. Mineral's on his way to try and make this dive happen, but as long as he has that watery grave, Brush should be safe.
Good timing to get CC immunity, preventing the knockup from Younglad. It was very important to make sure, because if that knockup occurs, then you're going to get stunned out from Mineral. Speaking of being in trouble, Yuji having to jump away there. Keep in mind, Cope without an ultimate, so is Sops.
Younglad is here to join up. Volcanic Lightning hits hard, and Sheyka finds the kill. They taunt Younglad back in, who survives with barely any HP, gets some lifesteal off, and should be able to retreat. Bruss making the rotation, but I don't think he's going to make it in time. No, don't back! Don't back!
It's going to go in, but the Tier 1 tower is going to kill it before the fall. Very unfortunate for Bra.
Unfortunate, not able to find that kill, but I like the idea from the Kuzenbo. I like the thought process to rotate in and try and get that punishment, but Younglad showing what Pele can do, but this could be a good fight. Sibyl with the taunt. Sheyka makes it back to tower. Mineral goes back in, gets pushed out, and is certainly dead to rights.
No mana available. Yuji is around the corner. Keep in mind, he has the Fear No Evil, but he doesn't have Blink. Assumed that those left side mid harpies were available. Used the overhand smash on Casper. Not able to find any gold or experience.
It is important, though, they find that return kill on the Mineral to make things a 1-for-1. Been a lot of action here so far, but I'm still worried about this impact from Younglad. We kind of saw it in that last fight. The more this game goes on, the more that Younglad's able to finish off this core of items to make himself able to have plenty of sustain within the actual items. You're not going to be able to shut this Pele down.
That's true. The net worth showing its difference now as Bra's Guardian's Blessing, putting himself a little bit ahead of Younglad. Also, that death certainly helped out a little bit, and with the Soul Eater almost finished off in the stacking department, that ability lifesteal is only going to get scarier. We saw how Younglad was able to top himself off in that little 1v2 scuffle.
Now, is it enough from Younglad to where we need to be seeing Armada like building some kind of, you know, anti-healing on their side, like Cope maybe with the Brawlers or Sops Divine Ruin or something like that?
Yes.
You gotta do it.
Just yes. As simple as that. If Younglad is going to commit to any sort of gank, you got to go for it. In fact, maybe even go for a Curse Onk to amplify that damage and try to shut down this Pele that's going to be diving.
Sops still had the portal, so he gets away from Yuji. Cope looking for the pin. Yuji can't find anything more there. He's been very patient with his Fear No Evil so far, and that patience should have you worried if you're on the other side. But Bruh's finding good damage in this solo matchup, even though Younglad has a lot of sustain and is tough to bring down. This Kuzenbo, man, he puts out so much damage in his own right.
But now that Younglad has the Soul Eater fully evolved, it's going to be a little bit easier for him to look for those trades. And keep in mind, he didn't have any magical defense either quite yet. Now working on what's probably going to be the Genji's Guard, whereas Bruh is limiting some of that physical power from Younglad with a Jade Emperor's Crown.
bit of action there in the middle lane. It's a 3-man grouping from Sanguine, but they're all by their tower, and they send sops on their way. In fact, actually, Yuji teleports after sops and forces out the through space in time. That was great to track him. That had to have been with the monkey toss.
Yuji just still making the plays happen without Fear No Evil. The diamond's still up and running for this level 10 Hun Batz that's still a level above Copebby. That's been struggling as of recent. 2 devs, only 1 assist onto yunglad in that right side little battle as Mineral putting himself in a 2v2, but it's going to be a 3-on-2 because here comes Yuji.
Fear No Evil for Sibyl. The Suns are there as well. A nice easy kill for Sanguine. Perfectly set up by Mineral on the Artio. Cope, though, wants to return the favor on yunglad. The auto attack's too strong, and Cope takes down the Pele.
That timing's so important because if yunglad has the passive available, that lifesteal from just those little skull orbs that he throws out would have topped himself back up. But despite losing a member on the right side, trying to get the Gold Fury on the left.
They do grab it. Sanguine get the objective. sBennyQ and sops are nearby and might look for the chase down. They have Defender of Olympus and Sheyka on the right, but sBennyQ goes left. So because they spread out, they're not able to track down anyone. Mineral, they might catch him backing, but it looks like he'll be okay, and Sanguine get away with the objective.
Up about 2,000 gold at 12 minutes. It's a way to start things off. sBennyQ going to get stunned on the left-hand side. Both of these hunters more interested about trying to farm those Devil Glove stacks as opposed to looking for the poke battle. Meanwhile, Sheyka getting zoned away from sops. Tier 1 tower incredibly low in the mid lane.
Sops looking for some pressure there. A nice unstable vortex damage, but they're not going to be able to keep up the aggression onto the tier 1, despite, like you said, it's on that last leg. They just can't quite bring it down. But despite everything that's happening, like you said, this game's still favoring Sanguine, at least in the gold department. Can we see experience as well? Because Benny does have a bit of a lead. It's much closer there, only about 1,000 or so out in front. So Armada certainly don't have to feel like this one's out of reach.
That's very true. Compared to the last game, Sanguine were up about 4,500 gold around this 13-minute mark, and they got that Gold Fury around the same timing as opposed to the second game. But now they're only up about 1/3 of what they were up in that first game. So slowing down the pacing shows that Armada has made those necessary adjustments. Most of those adjustments is not dying at level 1 from both of your dual lane members, not allowing Diesel to play his Freya as opposed to game 1 was a big transition for them as well.
And remember, Sanguine don't have that same, tanky presence they had in game 1. They had the Kuzenbo and the Kumbhakarna, and those two, the control that they had, they were able to absorb so much damage coming out from the Ganesh, I believe it was, with the Kumbhakarna. They had so much tankiness and control that they were free to sort of be a lot more aggressive. Now, yeah, yunglad does have Genjis, but he's not nearly as tanky as that Kumbha.
Yunglad trying to get away, going to get slowed by the threshold, getting shotgunned from yunglad, but without the ultimate from sops or Sibyl, the chase is going to go down here. Yuji going to get taunted in, not really being able to get hit by that unstable vortex, but sops goes down. Cope very low, needs one more basic. Sheyka.
Yunglad was the one that fell early on. Yuji finds Cope on the back end as well. Cripple field to try and lock them down. The Suns are here as Diesel's made the rotation. A good taunt from Sibyl allows him to get the dash off. It's 1-for-1 so far.
Oh, they're not giving it up though. That's okay. The portal goes to Sibyl instead of sops, and no one else wants to make this dive happen. Yuji was thinking about it because he still has Fear No Evil, but not wanting to commit quite yet. But he will stock sops under the tier 1 tower. Is he going to go for it?
Yuji biting.
He's going to go for it.
Pyromancer does fall on the right-hand side, and Sop's got to be careful as Yuji's still lurking in the jungle. Sheyka is nearby. Fear No Evil catches him coming into the jungle, and Sheyka finds one more kill. So the fight, in the end, does go in favor of Sing.
Like a true assassin jungler, wrapping around, allowing the traffic to kind of disperse in the mid lane, making sure that he wasn't going to get identified by all those minions, kind of like a Metal Gear Solid sneak mission, having no retries, perfect run out of Yuji.
And one more time, he's elected to go with that Relic Dagger in this build. So Yuji sort of recognizing his role in this game is not, it is damage, yes, but he's a big control element in this team fight. He's a big initiator for his team. That's why he's so patient with them. That's why he tries to have these cooldowns up as often as possible. And he's played it perfectly.
He's a big initiator, but he's playing it like more of a cleanup crew as of now.
Right.
He'd rather have someone else be the initiator. And currently, yunglad was that kind of sacrificial lamb, invading back camps, getting everybody from Armada riled up like you're, poking at a hornet's nest. They force out the ultimate from sops, out of Sibyl. even Copebby put himself so far out of position just to kill him, as there was a great counter rotation from Yuji. And that's the style that you need to have as a jungler, the flexibility to not only look for the plays on your own front aggressively, but identify when the counter engages are more important.
He's definitely done a good job so far of recognizing what it is his team needs from him in that moment. As Bra rotates over to try and strip away the back harpies, Yuji actually links back in towards it. Now yunglad looking for the knock-up. Can't find anything there. They'll have to group up and defend the tier 1 as Armada are here in full force.
4 members strong in the mid lane. Only sBennyQ not here. Still on the left side. Tier 1 tower just needs one more basic attack. Bra will finally commit to it, but by that time he's done. Mineral already takes out Sibyl.
Fear no evil, perfect yet again. Yunglad gets taunted in by Cope. Unstable vortex damage is good. sBennyQ the only one that can follow up. The through space in time hits him in the back. The long distance snipe from sops.
It's good. No one from Sanguine called that one out,
good
though.
Good blink though from Cope back in as well. Finds the knock-up on the Sheyka, and the Suns come through as well. Cope finds 1 kill. Mineral gonna dance in the Suns, but Armada can't stick around.
A 2 for 1, and keep in mind, Sibyl, when he revives, will have Defender of Olympus, and look at this timing. Gold Fury is available for Armada to strike.
This is a big turnaround now. Suddenly, they're the ones who are going to have a full healthy team. In fact, they're going to turn around. They baited Mineral in. Big shots coming out from Benny, and Cope finds 1 more 5-member strong start of the Gold Fury. Only 2 from Sanguine to defend.
I don't see how Yuji or Diesel can steal this away without their ultimates. Yuji just securing the purple buff. A little too late to the party as the second Gold Fury of the game now goes to Armada.
That's a huge fight for Armada there in the middle lane to turn things around. Last game, it was Sanguine that got 2 early Gold Furies. That sort of was the core of that gold lead they developed. This time, Armada have been able to answer back and keep the kill count very even, too.
Oh, yeah. It's a good gold swing for them now. At this point in the game, Armada were thinking about surrendering. Honestly,
yeah.
They were behind a lot of gold, 6,000 or so, and 3 minutes later, couldn't stop them from getting an unofficial deicide into the Fire Giant. Sanguine need to start grouping up and stop getting picked off. Yunglad is a little bit too far forward for my liking. Now that he has Gladiator Shield, he has even more sustain, but he doesn't really have the big physical defense to survive up against Cope or sBennyQ.
And it's really been Cope who's been looking for this Pele in the fights. Been using the knock-up, using the 9 turns blessing as tools to help control this Pele and not allow Yunglad to get to the back line. I mean, have we gotten to see Yunglad sit on Benny or Sops really at all this game?
Not quite yet. Yunglad yet again. He's going to get some ability lifesteal, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough to stay relevant. Cope, not even having to use the ultimate or anything of that nature, is clearly superior in the 1v1.
These junglers have had such a tremendous impact. Cope in shutting down Yunglad, and Yuji controlling the fights with these Fear No Evils. Just when you think things are about to start turning for the worst for Sanguine, Yuji's been right there for them on the Soon bots. Whichever one of them breaks first could very well be the team that ends up losing this game on the back end of it.
That's right. Yuji a part of 100% of his team's kills, sitting at 3-0-3. Very meticulous about when he wants to go in. Could have to go in here, considering that there's 4 members surrounding him.
Now it's Armada who's recognized they're the ones who are kind of in control right now, especially with the impact, the presence that Sops and Bra have that they don't have from Yunglad on Sanguine. They can move in and start looking for buff invades. They took back harpies, they took red, and that's going to help them push this lead out even further.
Small and steady allows Sops and sBennyQ with the red buff, so the next team fight, their DPS numbers are going to skyrocket, and stripping that away from the likes of Sheyka and Diesel going to hurt their potential.
And look at what we have from Mineral. Isn't his build a little bit, I would say maybe more selfish than what we normally see? I don't like to use that word. He's not doing the aura items that we see so often coming out, right? As opposed to Sibyl, who might be helping his squad out a little bit more.
He's definitely focusing on physical defense. It seems to me that he's going to go onto sBennyQ and stay on sBennyQ, making sure that they force the airstrike defensively, they get the Jingwei out of these fights. But you're right, the aura items could be a little bit more impactful in some of these team fights. I'm expecting them to kind of go in and out of the action. Yunglad is going to penetrate first, and then Mineral to follow suit.
Sure.
The crippling minefield is a good way to shut down Cope from being able to, you know, do any sort of bullying shenanigan plays. So maybe going that physical defense option to limit Cope.
That might be the idea, right? Trying to keep him in combat as Sanguine now warding around this Fire Giant. Pyromancer might be the more realistic target as the cripple field slows down Bra's aggression. He can't find yunglad either, so just going to look for the zone. But the rest of the team is here with Benny pushing up mid. Armada now the ones with control over Pyromancer. In fact, they've got it started up. And Yuji takes quite a bit of damage from Benny.
Oh, he actually dashes himself back in. What a madman!
Yeah.
Yuji going to take him out. Cope is going to blink in, finds the return kill 1-for-1.
That does have the 1-for-1, but very curious from sBennyQ as Supernova rips through the fight, brings Sibyl in. And Brawl very, very low, but so is Sheyka and Mineral as Cope comes in on the backside. Perfect positioning to bring in Defender of Olympus. Taunt lands. Sops finds Mineral. Next one is Sheyka as Sibyl gets to one more kill. Diesel has to run for his life as well.
That jump over the Sumo Slam was good, but you can't get away from Copebby on the speed buff. Now it's only yunglad left standing. Gonna avoid the unstable vortex, but you can't avoid the slam.
Now yunglad pinned against the wall. Cope finds one more. A deicide comes out for Armada. 1 for 5 in their favor, and they very well should be able to come back towards this FG. Now they don't have sBennyQ. That's a lot of their damage from this Hunter. That sustained damage, but he'll be back up in a few seconds. Rapid reincarnation gets him right back here. But totally, why does this fight go so well for Armada?
Honestly, I think it's the fact that there was just 2 members on the left-hand side, or the middle side, trying to get the kill onto sBennyQ. Now, granted, Cope was able to clean up, so it was a 3-on-3. I think Sops got off a lot of damage in that last team fight. Being able to reposition your teammates between the threshold, between the portals, made it so much easier to just duck and dodge between all the actions. So Sops coming in big in that last encounter.
Yeah, I think highlighting that left-hand side or that middle lane fight really was the key. Because yes, Benny goes in looking certifiably nuts, right? Dashing in aggressively, but he gets out Yuji's ultimate. Perhaps the most important cooldown on Sanguine is that Fear No Evil, and he's been so patient with it all game. That was his first death, the first fight that looked so bad for Sanguine because they didn't have it, but they're going to come in and steal away gold.
Okay, I guess Armada, that despite getting a deicide, goes for Pyromancer and the gold here as opposed to the
Wait, did they not do FG?
Giants. No, they
I
never.
just assumed that that had happened.
That's what I thought as well. I'm like, wait a
What?
second, why are they not doing the Fire Giant? There was so much time to still be able to do it, even with sBennyQ dead, using the Jingwei passive.
Yeah.
He was the first one to fall out of all 10 members in the game in the last fight, so he would get to the Fire Giant pit before anyone out of Sanguine would have, and a dropped opportunity, even losing the Gold Fury. Sanguine still keeping themselves in the game.
Absolutely, I very much agree. Now Armada, that's about as little as you can come away with on the back of a deicide is just the Pyromancer.
Pretty much.
It's pretty nuts when you think about it. But Armada certainly still have an opportunity. They're still out in front gold-wise by a little bit, and they can start up this Fire Giant one more time. sBennyQ gonna have some extra attack speed. It's only Yuji nearby. Great recognition that really Sanguine are not local.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna blink in, use the Fear No Evil, holding on. He needs to hit Armada. Will confirm the objective, but look at this. It's a base race. Sanguine were never interested in the Fire Giant. They want to go for tier 2 towers and maybe even a Phoenix.
They've got 3 members on the left-hand side and Yuji keeping everyone busy on the right. They should now be able to force their way in. Diesel already looking for shots. Bruh now on his way. The Kuzenbo and Defender of Olympus is enough to keep the Phoenix standing. They will lose the tier 1 and maybe even Mineral as they taunt him back in.
An easy pick onto Mineral. Sumo Slam will do the dirty deed. Yunglad could be in a little bit of trouble under that tier 2 tower, forced to use that defensive ultimate. Cope with speed buff has the Masamune and the blink, catching up.
Using the bead spell to get away. Big healing as Sops has to leave through the portal. Volcanic Lightning doing a ton of damage, but Yunglad not long for this world. But totally, I mean, was Fire Giant that foregone a conclusion? Why not contest it?
I think they were already committed to the base race, and if anyone's going to try to steal it, I like that fact that it was Yuji. Blink ultimate, he was very close to stealing it. And at the end of the day, if Fire Giant was stolen, Sanguine's DPS between Sheyka and Diesel maybe get that Phoenix on the left side easier.
They certainly have a lot of damage to burn through these structures. And I agree, when they're in the world where they're already spread out, when they're already not in position to play defense, go ahead and commit, right, to forcing down the tier 2 and at least get something. But that's what I'm saying, with 22 minutes into the game, I mean, you gotta be around the Fire Giant.
Yeah. It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. I like the risky strategy call from Sanguine, because this is like next level stuff when you're committing to a base race like that. If Yuji could have survived maybe 2 or 3 seconds longer, stop the back coming from Bra, that Phoenix dead to rise. But there's a lot of little factors that you can't always account for in the world of Smite.
There's so many factors you're always calculating, and Armada the ones whose calculators work a little bit better that time. They now have Fire Giant on all 5 members. And still, some Tier 2 towers to push down, earn a little bit of gold, about 3,000 sitting out there for them. And then they can start burning down some Phoenixes. Sanguine have been on the back foot for quite a while now. Now they have to fall all the way back and play siege defense.
A lot of back and forth action in this set already. The first set of the North American Smite Minor League placement. Sanguine winning game number 1 rather decisively. 20.5 minute surrender vote from Armada. This time 5 minutes later as opposed to game number 1. Armada in the lead.
And this is how you use an F6, by the way. If you're going to surrender that game 1, it's because it's just too far gone, and don't get frustrated staying in this game. This is how you need to bounce back, and Armada clearly were able to clear their heads after that game 1 and come back with a plan that really worked. A lot of it has been Bra, by the way, on this Kuzenbo. He's been an absolute nuisance for Sanguine.
It's been the Cope and Bra show onto Yunglad, preventing this Pele from popping off the same way the Kumakarna was able to in game number 1, and that shutdown and the lack of control is what's allowing Armada to make plays like this.
Going in aggressively, Mineral already low. Bra at half HP as well, but Cope is keeping the Fear No Evil away from the fight from Yuji. So now Armada can re-siege in one more time and look for structure damage. Yuji now blinks in with the Fear No Evil. He's very low. Yunglad has good damage. Can't find Sibyl. Finally does and gets the first kill.
Look at Yuji. He was able to monkey teleport all the way back to the safety of his base. Yunglad forced to sacrifice his life. Phoenix at half health. Mineral forced to give this one up, however.
Left side Phoenix going to go down. Now jumping in is Yuji aggressively. Cope, even though he's low, goes back in. Sheyka blows him up and finds the shutdown onto the Erlang Shen. Unstable Vortex damage is good, but sBennyQ airstrikes aggressively for damage and comes back down away from the fight.
Oh, wanting to go onto Mineral, gonna knock himself up, but the stun stops the agility dead in the air. Bra gets off the watery grave and puts Mineral back in it.
This has been all drawn out. Phoenix Siege is actually blinking in his Yuji, recognizing he cannot afford to fight anymore on that left-hand side, so Sanguine must fall back. But Armada, even though they've given up 2 lives, have grabbed the left side Phoenix. This is still a good siege.
An effective Fire Giant siege, and it's coming back up in 45 seconds. Everyone from Sanguine will be available to play defense if they want to, unless Yuji dies right here.
Sops has the cutoff. Unstable Vortex waits. Fear No Evil is very patient, wants to trade his life with Benny. Can't find it, but somehow Yuji makes his way out of there.
I thought for sure Yuji was going to commit to that kill and hope for some RNGesus in his favor, but not going to commit to it quite yet, utilizing that passive. Instead, going to keep himself alive for the defense of the next Fire Giant. As long as that wave on the left side can be pushed a little bit further beyond that imaginary horizontal line, then I think Sanguine should look to play D.
Cope has been so important in this game, though, totally. I like what he did on that Phoenix siege. While the rest of his team was pushing forward, he was zoning away Yuji for the most part, so that Fear No Evil had to come much later. By the time Yuji gets in, it comes at a hefty price of his own health bar, and he can't stick around.
And he barely got out, too. Yuji should have been dead to rights after that blink in. The only thing that Cope didn't do correctly was he used his ultimate when Yuji still had the Mag Ice close. So you want to pop that with your turtle knockup, and then once that CC immunity fades away, you use your ultimate to taunt him in for a little bit of extra damage. Trading Fire Giant for the gold. Fury Sanguine just trying to get 6 items slotted.
Got to get what they can back after giving up the second Fire Giant here of the game. Armada going to go grab the last Tier 2 tower on Sanguine's side of the map to fully open up these Phoenixes for siege. The left side should have fire minions in it shortly, and Armada have done a good job on the back of Cope and Bra so far, forcing their way in. No reason not to think it won't go their way again.
Another 1-4 split. This time it's going to be Yunglad to play defense, recognizing that they need Yuji to play defense on the right side in the back line. Penetrating, going to be the Sunbreaker. Mineral in a little bit of trouble with a watery grave. A little bit of a reset out of Armada.
That's a good ultimate from Diesel, though. That does kind of force Armada back for a moment and get them some breathing room. But Bra really can just back and teleport right back in, essentially with a free health bar, and siege one more time. Low is Yuji a little bit. He's down to half HP. Yunglad caught out by Cope, and it's good damage. They taunt him back in. Yunglad able to just barely squeak out.
An ultimate for ultimate. I like this play from Cope because it buys a little bit of a window where they're going to fight 5 on 4. Dive in the backline. Cope is keeping everyone busy. Stops! from a distance. Not going to find the kill, but he will zone the rest of Sanguine. I think Armada are forcing this to game 3.
This very well could be the end. 5 members from Armada here and only 3 up from Sanguine. Sibyl very low. Yunglad brings him down. Diesel in trouble on the backside. Dive bombs back towards the fountain and makes it back out. Titan now at half HP. Copebby gonna all in commit. sBennyQ gonna find the kill in the Diesel, and Armada take game number 2 over Sanguine. We are absolutely going to game 3.
Man, from surrendering 10 minutes prior to winning game number 2, Armada are making the necessary adjustments.
Yeah.
Really shutting down Bra is what allowed the success of this Kuzenbo solo lane to just really pop up from Bra.
And that's really what's unfortunate, is that yunglad was a non-factor on that Pele. I mean, irrelevant. And I said last game he might be on the Achilles, and he turns it around, right? And ends up looking really good. But not the Achilles, rather, but on the Kumakarna. But this time, though, it does not quite work out for him. He gets heavily punished in this game, and it is largely thanks, I think, to the pressure from this Erlang Shen.
Cope was making the rotations on the right side of the map. The mobility also from sops' Janus is what allowed more just counter rotations. Yuji was doing a good job, but it just wasn't enough to build momentum. They got the goal through at 11 minutes in, but then started to slip away.
Yeah, Armada did a much better job playing around the objectives this time and keeping the game even until they eventually broke the back, able to win the game. But we're going to a game 3. How could it be any better than that? Let's get it back over to the desk to break it down and set us up for the final game.
Armada take game 2. Now, even though you may have been like me about game 1 and that surrender vote, clearly it was a good call because they get back to action game 2. Look really dominant there, Taco.
I think that game 2, there were just a couple of really well thought out team fight engagements from Armada that ultimately gave them the edge in game 2 here. I think one that I noted specifically happened right around the 20-minute mark, where Armada find 3 quick picks at the very start, right around that Fire Giant pit. That ended up being the entryway for Armada to then siege the Fire Giant, and from then on forward, it was a lot easier to bring down all those remaining structures, the Phoenixes, and we saw how well sBennyQ was able to, I think, actually free cast from the back line.
Bruh will get the MVP on the Kuzenbo. As you'd expect in this composition, honestly, Taco, I kind of saw this one coming. A lot of damage dealers on Sanguine, sure. But the problem is that you take it on tanks, and tanks can weather a storm and give you a beat down too.
That's all that Bro wanted to do with the Kuzenbo, was just be an interruptance factor, not allow Diesel or anyone from Sanguine to have the ability to try and damage their damage dealers. Bro just had so much potential to stay standing in front of them the whole way through. I just didn't really see much of a comeback clause here for Sanguine.